Listen to the Vibes, hosted by Coyote Night. Listen in for some positivity and good times. The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes broadcast network. Listener discretion is advised.
I told you we should have had a garage sale.
You'll be fine.
It's supposed to be possessed, right?
Are you possessed?
Does Mom seem okay to you?
At the risk of sounding like a wacko, I'm just gonna say it. Michael, your house creeps me out.
Did you know that the original owner died in this house?
What are you looking for, Kristen?
Let me explain a little bit to you about demons.
You know who's inside me, preacher boy.
Have you heard of deliverance ministry? Don't forget to do your homework.
You need to go back to bed.
I need my phone. You should know better than to be going through my personal belongings.
Father Bob.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I have here Mr. David Espinosa and Craig Ahrens, a couple of filmmakers. They're actors. They've got hats of all trades that they wear. So we're just going to we want to find out about y'all individually before we get going. So, Craig, if you want to start things off, just tell us about you, where you were born and raised and all that good stuff.
Sure. I was born and raised in Huntington Beach, California. Third generation through the Huntington Beach High School. Played basketball really all my life. And I was a mortgage banker, Kyle, for years and years and years. And, as a filmmaker today, as a kid, it was never like, oh, someday I want to be an actor, someday I want to make films. Zero. I love films. I mean, horror films. I mean, Dracula, Werewolf, Frank. I mean, all that Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never one of these things like, oh, someday I could so do that. But once mortgage banking, I let's say semi-retired in 2008, which was the right time to get out. I ended up going into acting by a fluke. A good friend of mine at the gym was an actor for years and years and years, and a very successful career. And this was 2011, 2012. And he had booked a role in Tarantino's film Django. And he said it was a Western. I thought that's kind of an odd name for a Western, but his name is Lewis Smith. But he went through the same acting class as Tarantino, Brad Pitt, Gina Davis, some really, really talented people. Roy, I can't remember Roy's last name. He's since passed on. But he's a very prominent acting coach back in the day. And so I was talking to Lewis, and he said the best thing about this film, every scene he's in is either with DiCaprio or Jamie Foxx. So I asked him, Kyle, I said, well, let me ask you, Lewis. I said, the greats like that, are they just born that way? Because, growing up playing basketball, on my best of days, I was just a slow white guy. I mean, if you can't fake height and you can't fake speed. So I had to really practice hard to have, let's say, an average game on a good day. And you had some guys that just had a better skill set. He says, no, Craig, not at all. He goes, there's nothing natural all about acting. He goes, it's a lot of hard work. I thought, well, that's odd. I said, well, how do you memorize a script? And he goes, well, it's like anything else. How are you a mortgage banker? And he goes, typically you're going to shoot, I forget he said, like maybe 6 pages a day, 7 pages a day. And he goes, you're not in every scene. So my mind was just spinning because it's totally opposite what I was expecting. So then the magic thing came. He said, why don't you come up to my academy on Monday? I said, your academy for what? He goes, for actors. Now I live in Orange County, South Orange County, and his academy is in Santa Monica, which I never knew we had. And so I went there as a single dad raising 3 kids. And I just went there to watch actors, much like folks like David and different ones, do their thing. I thought this would be kind of cool. Well, the next day he called me and said, what do you think? I said, what do I think about what? He goes, give it 90 days. I thought, oh, baby Jesus. And I said, okay. And the reason why, Kyle, as a single dad, I've told my kids, be a closed mind, a negative mindset does not allow any greatness to come in. So this totally, man, took me out of my comfort zone. I mean, I could have been you, anybody you know. My story is anybody's story. So I started off, and man, I sucked. I mean, there was like here, but I blew the lid off of sucking. I was bad. I'm not saying my skill set necessarily is any better, but I was really bad. My oldest daughter had the best line because my oldest daughter and youngest is about a 10-year gap. So my oldest daughter, and she's back home right now. She's 32 now for this quarantine in California, was epic. Her younger sister told her about dad acting. So my oldest daughter just loaded with attitude. I was talking to her on the phone. She goes, okay, Dad. She goes, what's this I hear about this acting thing? I said, what do you mean? She goes, oh, no, don't do that. She goes, Brittany told me. She goes, I don't get it. She goes, well, I hope you don't suck. And I said, oh, I suck at a really high level. It's dead silence, Kyle, like she couldn't process that. She goes, then why are you doing this? I said, well, I'm just optimistic I'll suck less in the future. So for the family, it's like this deep, dark secret, like Dad lost his mind. But I realized early on, it was the banker side of me, that I hadn't interviewed for a job in years because there was no reason to. And I had a wonderful 25-year career in mortgage banking. And so coming into this business, the business plan to me, well, I couldn't relate to it because like an actor, you're always, auditioning, but you're always interviewing for a job. So it's like you're always in between jobs. So early on, the only thing that made sense with my skill set, I wanted to be a low budget feature filmmaker. So I worked really hard. You can look at IMDb. So I worked really hard as an actor. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm anything good or whatever, but kind of like a one-trick pony. And I realized that kind of early on, that I started making a series of short films. And where God steps in here, and I remember so distinctly, because I always enjoyed cinema, but like going up to the theaters up the hill from us, and like you're watching, like, wow, how did they put all that together? And then, as fate would have it, a third friend introduced me to David. And I first met David as an attorney. And he and I just clicked. He got the vision. It just was ideal. And then over just conversations. And it wasn't like David hit me with all this, like, this little bits and pieces. And like David mentioned, he's really particular. That's not exactly right, but close enough, that he's a graduate of UCLA School of Drama. And I thought, holy cow, an attorney who's a graduate of UCLA School of Drama. And he had written books and screenplays, plays, all kinds of things in the arts. And he's also an acting coach in the Bay Area. And so my mind was just spinning because at the time I had the script written, Evil Down the Street is called Family Down the Street. And so I sent it to David and, to read it and go through it. So he started giving me some feedback on writing it. And you can only send so many thank you notes. I said, look, man, you have to be co-writer because he's making too many contributions. And then I was down as director. I thought, this is ridiculous. This man has had a great successful career for years. I said, do you want to co-direct this? He goes, oh, that's great. And after I thought, that's silly. So I said, just, be director. And then there's a role for Father Bob. And I said, what do you think? He goes, yeah, I'd love to take a swing at that. So that's how it all started. And we just clicked, we got it, we collaborate every day on anything. And if one of us is kind of funny, if we're always very real. So if we don't like an idea, I just go really quiet. I just listen to David until the end. And like if I'm telling David like an idea or let's say a pitch or whatever, if he doesn't start interrupting me like early on and adding to it, it's like, okay, just shut up. This is not going anywhere. So that's it. And David had the same belief system, the same everything that, we're serving something bigger than us and how everything is so serendipitous with fate and God that bring us all together. And now, so I'm talking like a drunken fool, but now in basic terms, we're just two guys making films. But it's just, for me, I feel it's an amazing journey because, you know, if I had not accepted, you know, like, okay, I'll give it 90 days, I would not have met my good friend and business partner, David, and I would not be on your show. So that's why I'm just grateful, because I would have missed all of this. I would have missed it all. So, you know, when God starts putting you in a certain area, because I thought, Cal, I'd retire as a mortgage banker. What I loved about it, I went in as a loan officer. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can do this my whole life. I went to the highest level of the land. I thought, like, at this stage of my life, I just hang my license with somebody I knew, work 3 or 4 days a week, have purpose, do a few loans, and that's that. But God had a different plan. And I'm just so thankful I can say I'm a filmmaker with my best friend and business partner. And our goal is simple, is that we're going to make as many films as we can until one of us drops dead. So there you go.
Wow.
Sorry, but I just, you know, anyhow, you get my point.
I got you. So how much did you have to pay him to say that, David?
Wow. I'm sitting here tallying up the tab as he speaks, man. I'm going, dude.
Tap the brakes, slow it down.
So David, let's hear a little bit about you.
I don't know if I could match that. I might bore you, but I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. I went to 7 different elementary schools, lived all over the place. Eventually, my family immigrated over to, or migrated either way, over to California, San Jose. And I kind of grew up there from about the age of 12 on. And I've done a number of different things. Unlike Craig, I've always loved the movies, always dreamt of being an actor, always wanted to be in the movies, make movies, tell stories. And consequently, I did that, but I did a whole lot of things in between getting there. There's a play out by a man named Edward Albee, very famous playwright, numerous awards and accolades in the theater profession. And it's called Zoo Story. And the point of the play is that sometimes you have to go a very long distance out of your way to come back a short distance correctly. And those long distances out of our way amount to lessons that we need to learn, things we need to understand about who we are, our life cycle, where we're at, what we want, where we're going, and what we're supposed to do. And consequently, in the search of that, as Craig said, I've done a lot of different things. I've worked for the phone company. I was a union steward. I've been a police officer, a teacher. I've taught in high school. I've taught at private schools. I've taught at the college level. I've been all over the place, and I ended up going to law school at the ripe old age of 34 because I was having children. I was doing plays, my own work, getting paid rather to direct my own work. I was very flattered, but I couldn't ever buy a house. I wouldn't be able to be successful doing that type of theater. I love theater. It's the challenge of the art. Unlike film, you don't get take 2. You're either on or you're off. And God help you if you're off, because you're going to have to get back on somehow. But that adrenaline, that experience is a whole different thing. It's a scary feeling. And like Craig, when I started doing this, as a young guy, I was pretty good. And then somehow I reverted to sucking. And I think it was because I started caring about what.
You didn't tell me this story, brother. Now you got my attention.
I went backwards. It was terrible. It was. I started caring about what I was doing and being concerned about whether I was good or if they liked me, and consequently, no. But I never gave up, and I kept at it, and ended up at the age of 24 going to UCLA after being working for the phone company for 5 years already, and doing some stuff. And here I am. I just kept at it. I'm a musician. I was when I was practicing law. I was with a personal injury firm doing their work, and I was with a jazz band called the Poets, and we did original songs to poetry. I wrote the poems and performed them, and we can laugh about that later. But, we actually weren't that bad. Did a couple of CDs, yeah, got on television, played to an audience at Candlestick Park to about 30,000 people. We had some fun doing it, but it wasn't satisfying. It's what I needed was this. And finally, at the age of 59, 60 years old, I decided to quit law altogether, and I did, and I got an agent again and started getting commercial work and doing some stuff, and started teaching again. And then I was asked to play a part in this film, and the film really didn't go anywhere. But through the film, I met a gentleman by the name of Todd Chase, and Todd kept telling me about this guy he knew who was involved with some filmmakers, and that I really should know him because he's a happening guy. And I said, yeah. This went on for about a year.
It's a cool cat.
Finally, I told Todd, okay, who is he? Just, all right, I'll meet him, introduce me. So he hooks me up with Craig. And like Craig said, we clicked right away. We had the same understanding, same drive, same motivation, same aspirations. And he showed me his script. I read through the script and thought that it would be a very doable script if we made some changes. The changes were based on two things. One, the fact that he told me this really happened, that it was an actual event and based on the reality of a family who was experiencing these things. That right away put chills into me. And I'm like, okay. And I said, all right, then why don't we, because, and here's the second factor, we didn't have any money. That was a pretty good dictate, that one. And we said, well, why don't we eliminate all the incredible FX stuff? Let's get rid of as much as possible. Let's take all that stuff off. Let's get it baked down to its basics. What's more scarier than watching your mom do some wicked, nasty dance in the corner to a demon in her head in the middle of the night? That would freak me out if I saw my mom doing something like that. I wouldn't know what to think, some of the things that was going on. So we thought that the approach would attract more people. Now we understand there's a lot of groups who, audience members who want to see blood and guts. They want to see heads chopped off and rolled and have Freddy run through the area cutting up everybody. I got that. And that's one aspect of the genre. But I think the genre truly exists in the minds of the audience through understanding supernatural events, through watching things that we can't explain, whether it's behavior of people we know, normal people, or it's an occurrence that happens that we cannot explain. And I'll give you an example real quick. In the scouting of the area where we were going to shoot Evil Down the Street, Craig went on the scouting mission to find a location. We needed a new location, and he found a basement 100 miles away from the main set.
Right.
Cool place. It was at an old reform school way out in the high desert, 100 miles away in Banning, California. And it had some old buildings on it. One of them was a house with this double room basement at the bottom. No electricity, nothing, no windows, really dark. And he shot some footage for us, and as he always does, brings it back, and we go through it and talk about it. There were these orbs just zooming around inside of it, and he hadn't seen anything like that. And I was like, what the heck is this? And they weren't light sources because they didn't follow the lens or reflection, so they weren't, bounce light or anything of that nature. They were zigzagging, moving around. We were like, okay, this is a little weird. But we didn't know that until afterwards. So we go out there, we get the location, we go out there to shoot, and we shot all of the basement scenes first in the film. As you know, most films are shot out of order based upon needs and availability of location, actors, all kinds of other factors. And in this sense, it was the location. So availability. And we had to be in by 6 in the morning and out by 4 every day. They locked the place up. It had a huge institutional type structure, building, and with a big basement down there. That place was rattling noises off like if somebody was banging doors. And there was nobody down there. we investigated it. We
It was
have it all
abandoned. The whole complex was abandoned.
Yeah, it was a scary thing. I mean, Craig, you shot that down there. You know what that those orbs were about. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and
So
I just say that I've come back to, I think, a part of the story that would be good for you to share. That I found this location, Kyle, by way of the Riverside Film Commission that had met at a conference like a year or two prior. And so I reached out to them, and I called the woman I met there at the convention. I said, by any chance, do you have any properties or property that you know that has a basement? So she told me about this abandoned facility, and it's locked up. They manage it with the county of Riverside, but it's locked up, so it's not available. They'll say the general public. And so she was telling me what she has. She goes, there's one house, and we call the basement creepy number 1 and 2. And I said, oh, you have me at creepy. So then I went out there and shot it. And like what David is saying, this was like nothing new for us, Kyle, because on scout locating, anything that I do, I shoot on video. It could be night, day, whatever. So David and I've done this 1,001 times. So that's why this also like, hold on now. But I'll give it back to you, David, because I know that probably that one story you want to talk about too out there.
well, there's an occurrence that happened to myself and the makeup artist. I played Father Bob, as you're aware, and they were putting the tattoo appliques on my back, those crucifixes. And as she was doing it, we start hearing all this rattling going down. We're in this main building of the institution. We're in the very bottom cellar area, and there's a huge hall with big rooms left and right of it. And they're all empty. There's nothing in there but some scattered junk, stuff like that. So she starts getting really worried about it. And she tells me, she goes, this is really making me nervous. She goes, is somebody doing this to us? And I go, no. I go, look, I walk down the hall and I go into each room and I'm hollering. I say, see, there's nobody in here, in here. And she feels a little better. I come back, putting it on. Within about 20 seconds, we start hearing like if somebody's got, those big institutional doors that shut and they got the push handles on them. It's like somebody's going,
Whoa.
just freaking us
Seriously.
out. I got on the phone right away and called the crew who were wrapping up the set at the other location, the basement, because I'm in this other part of the grounds. And I said, hey, when are you guys coming over here? I go, it's getting a little weird over here. And the makeup artist is freaking out. She wanted to leave. And he goes, we're on our way right now. So I said, all right. But it kept on till maybe, a minute before they walked in.
Wow.
She was totally terrified. And you want to know something? She wouldn't come back on our sets.
Yeah.
She was a really good makeup artist, and she said she did a good job. We told her we're going to be doing other work and we'd like to have you back on as a makeup artist. She wouldn't respond to our calls.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
and
nuts.
we know she's alive.
We've shot 2 films since that film, and she's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, she
Wow.
don't have nothing to do with us. But it's not the first instance. Inside the house, the main set house, and this is strange.
Yeah.
We were there. We have a scene that takes place in a library. All right.
Mhm.
And the actor walks in as the character, and he really wants to find out what his daughter's up to. So he goes right to the wall, which is a huge library, the whole wall. And he grabs any book at random and opens it up and looks at it. All right. We're rehearsing this scene. We just started. He walks in there. This house we rented belonged to some people, fully furnished with everything in it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He walks into there. The first book he just grabs, opens it up, and it's a book on demonology. And he opens a page at random, and it says the ceremony for marriage to a demon. We're like, what? I was like, okay, this is a little weird. These people here, it was their book. It wasn't our book, and it's in the film. It's in the film.
Oh.
That was not our book. That
That's
was
not a prop
our
book. That
plan.
was not a prop book.
No, it
So
was grabbed at random.
The ones you actually see in the movie belong to them.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Oh,
They
that's
belong to
nuts.
the owners of the house.
And that was just a random pull off the shelf, Kyle, because the scene that was written, he just pulls a book and just leafing through it. Could have been, traveling in Greece, but he pulled randomly that book, flipped to that page, and we thought, holy cow.
Something's trying to tell you something.
Well, there was a lot of tension on the set. There was a lot of bad energy, not in terms of the actors' work or our ability to do our work, but just there was a sense of like hostility in the air a lot. Even when people were being, kind and hey, how you doing? How'd that? No, that was really good. You did a really good job. You can still feel some tension. And I can't explain it. I've been on sets afterwards. Everybody's happy at the wrap. We're having a couple of beers or whatever, right? None of that happened. This set, when it wrapped, we shut it down, we packed it up, and we went
out of
home.
Dodge.
See ya.
We're done.
We were done.
Well,
Yeah, so
if
that
ever
type
you
of thing.
if ever you need any more creepy locations, let me know. I can set you up some really cool
Right on.
places. But so is that your main focus in making movies, is like the horror genre, or do you have others in mind to do?
Well, strange you asked that. Now we're in the process of finishing a comedy. It's called Love and Quarantine, and we're in the final stages of the script.
Well, we hope it's a comedy, David.
Yeah.
You want people
really.
to laugh.
We hope it's a comedy. We'll know soon enough.
Right now, all we're knowing is we're writing a new script.
Yeah. At this point, that's as much as we got really on the table here. We're writing a new script. What we call it depends upon audience reaction. It may end up a tragedy.
How funny.
Yeah. Well, you can't take yourself seriously doing this stuff. Art, and that I think as indie filmmakers is one of the downfalls of our quasi-professional place in the industry. We let our egos allow to make the decisions of business.
Mm-hmm.
See, making films is not just artistic, which is certainly a big, extremely large part of it. But unless that film is handled in a business fashion, it's never going to get seen, period. And so therefore, what's the point?
Right.
So pursuing filmmaking as an indie filmmaker, I think most indie filmmakers have to step aside from themselves, look at their work and ask themselves this question: is this marketable? And if it is, why do I think it is? And who is the market? Identify your market. Who is it? Like in this case of the genre is horror.
Right.
We know who our market is. Our market is horror film fans, people who like that stuff. But even in that, we start to hone the niche a little bit more. As I mentioned earlier, we're not a blood and guts type of filmmaking company. We like horror, but more in the supernatural, more in the terrific. I'll give you an example. In The Crumbs, which is our new film coming out here in about a week or two, it should be ready for our potential distributors to view the links, viewing links, and we'll see what goes with that. But in The Crumbs, there's a lot of horrific things that happen, but it's more of a mindset as to what these people are about. We try to present a group of people who are horrific. They're doing horrible things, and they're horrible people. But we think we've accomplished the act of putting forth these demons in a very respectful, acceptable manner. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had the best comment I got from somebody about the film and the script, etc., was that at the end of it, they didn't hate the Crumbs. They were kind of sympathetic to them. And just FYI, so you understand how horrific these people are, they're murderous, cannibals, incestuous people. That's something else. So when you look at that, how can those people be sympathetic? Well, it's like the evil down the street. Where do the demons exist? Does the demon exist in the house? Or is it that when this lady entered that house, her demon was allowed to come forth and she started drinking? Was that her demon? Was her alcoholism the demon? Is that what made her do all those things that she did? Well, one could argue perhaps so. So what is it that causes the Crumbs to behave the way they behave? Well, not to give away the movie, but as Dr. Benjamin would say, in the times of great need, one does what one needs to do to survive.
Yeah.
Sure.
End of issue. So, we are looking at things like that, like Amityville Horror, that movie. Terrifying movie because it's a documented occurrence. The same investigators in real life who investigated that house, that particular house, investigated another occurrence in London several years later. And that house is the most documented one of these types of hauntings. This lady in London buys this home furnished for her and her kids, an older home with older furniture and whatnot. She leaves everything there, and it's haunted. Police came in, and actually took reports themselves witnessing chairs flying across the room.
Right.
Whoa.
It's terrifying. And those things are where Craig and I are about doing horror films. We want to try to always put together some type of reality with it. The new film we just shot, Demon Fighter, it's based on an actual event, historical event in England.
Right.
And Craig, why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
Well, David wrote the screenplay. He's being very generous right now. And one thing before even tackling a project, Kyle, and I have to give kudos to David, is the research behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So we really studied it, and the deeper going into it was like, holy cow. And you can take those true events, historical events, and apply those to modern time, which David did. Well, people see the film, did a terrific job of taking something that was 400 or 500 years ago and retrofit it to present time. And I think the genius, if you will, for our fan base, as far as our goal is to entertain, enlighten, and hopefully with the folks, they walk away with a message, if you will. And so our audience base will enjoy this film. And we also have some fight scenes. So we think it's going to hit the 3 buckets as filmmakers that we try to do. But yeah, the family in question of this film, real life folks in England. And, we would like to, and David and I've talked about this, there's a lot of great stories housed in England. So it's not an impossibility at some point we find us over there shooting a film if it fits our budget, if we can financially do it. But without giving too much away on Demon Fighter, we're really optimistic on this film. I think David wrote seriously, I think a really good script. The actors did a really good job. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, Hundroyd Hall, which is the place Craig's referring to, is in England, and is owned by the Starkey family to this day, and has been since like the 1400s.
Right.
Okay. So these folks have a long history, and an occurrence there, a man was accused of witchcraft falsely. And this is all history. And what he did allegedly was draw a circle, step in it, and invite someone in to the circle to join him. That was an act of witchcraft, a felony punishable by death.
No.
They killed this guy upon Mr. Adam Starkey's say-so, the landowner of Hundroyd Hall at that time. Okay. And so what I did was resurrect that poor guy who got killed, even though he was doing some strange stuff himself prior to that. The Starkey family had come down ill a few years before, and staff members, this guy came in after no doctor could cure them. This guy comes in and claims to have eliminated the demons that were possessing all these children and the staff, etc., and then convinced the Starkey family that he had to stay on for who knows how long, lest the demons come back. 2 years later, the Starkey family's getting a little tired of him, and Adam Starkey says, "You got to go. You can't stay here anymore." The guy says, "No, I'm not going to leave." They get into it. A couple of weeks later, the family comes down sick again.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. So they're going, hey, we think this guy's poisoning him, and that's why Adam Starkey said, hey, look, this guy, he's a witch. He's doing weird stuff, and boom, now you know the story. So all we do is create a present day vendetta that's been waiting to be served.
So
Yeah.
and
And
he
that's
can.
Demon Fighter. And I'll tell you what makes me so excited about Demon Fighter. You had the pleasure of interviewing the star, and I'll say that straight up because I think he is, John Ozuna.
Right.
He is the lead actor of the film Demon Fighter. He plays Father Michael. And he's a kung fu master who is a ordained Jesuit priest, specializing, he's a exorcist, and he's fighting demons in the street. In the souls of man while he wrestles with his own, and that's our tagline. John Ozuna holds 2 world records, fastest punch ever thrown and number of punches thrown in a minute, over 700 in a minute.
No
Yeah.
joke.
It was crazy when we were interviewing him. He would do those real quick moves, and like, man, you just barely see his hand go by. You know, how
Yeah.
fast he is.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
Incredible.
I think he told you he just finished doing Matrix,
Matrix
filming
4.
Matrix 4 and Venom 2, and he signed on with Seagal to do a film.
And Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep. So we're very excited about where this opportunity to have worked with him. I had faith in him. I didn't audition him physically, obviously. I knew what he could do. I auditioned him as an actor and was hoping that he could pull it off, because this is unlike a lot of the roles he's played in the past where it was strict action. He was acting in this one, some serious acting.
Did a great job.
He did a great job. We were so pleased with him.
And
Everybody did.
Well, I'll say this. David and John worked really, really hard together. We touched on earlier, and a note, let's say for your audience, the real secret to shooting is your pre-game work, all of the pre-production work, where David works endlessly, camera angles, all these things, and working with the actors before ever shooting to get them to where he needs to have them to be before we start shooting. And much to David's credit and John's credit, they just get it. On the same page. There's no ego. Everybody desires the same end result goal. Any actor, and a crew too, I suppose, that has an ego, if they're too full of themselves, we will cut them out that fast. We don't have time for it. If David and I are egoless and we have our goal is to create something bigger than us, we expect those around us to share in the vision. And we've been very fortunate that we just attract those people. But John and David just did a great job together. And I feel it comes out in John's performance.
You know, as someone looking from the outside, I could see where your lives are just like the book of Ecclesiastes, where it talks about to everything there is a season. And, you know, everything that happened for y'all happened at the right moment. You know when to use ego, and you know when to put ego aside. Amen. And so yeah. It's amazing, and it's why I wanted y'all on Listen to the Vibes, because that should be an inspiration and a motivation for folks that, you know, don't give up on your dreams or looking for what it is that you really want to do. You know, here I am. I'm just about to turn 50, and I've finally found something that I really enjoy doing. I could see doing this for the rest of my life. And David, I'm like you. I mean, I wore so many different hats. I've been a garbage man. I've worked in the water department. I've been I've worked in construction and all aspects of construction you can imagine. You know, heavy equipment operator. I was even, you know, exterminator. So, you know, you name it, I've probably done it at one point.
Yeah, me too, man. Been a janitor. I've worked in restaurants, busboy, waiter.
Worked in a restaurant.
I've owned an internet cafe. I got a real estate license. I mean, I'm all over the place, you know, and it's not because I can't settle down. It's because my real goal has always been what I'm doing now. The other things that were done to generate money, period, and to survive, I figured, why not use my talents as selling real estate. In 2003, my wife and I decided to vacate the mainland. We moved back to Maui. We used to live in Maui in the 70s for a short period of time. We loved it. So we moved back to Maui, sold everything, moved our houses, and we set up an internet cafe called Beaners. It was totally cool. Our logo was a coffee bean like this, and he's surfing a laptop on a wave of coffee spilt on a table. That was our logo, Beaners Internet
cool.
Cafe. It was wireless. We had iMac computers, private stations, all kinds of great coffees and desserts, homemade stuff. And then 2008 came around and killed everything. I lost the real estate practice. I lost the internet cafe and a small jewelry business that we were doing. I was making jewelry over there out of black coral and quality beach glass that we'd find over in the beaches of Maui, which was pretty cool. So, Craig and I have backgrounds that cover a wide range of areas. And fortunately for the two of us, we're so symbiotically coupled. What he does well and likes to do is what I don't like to do. What I do well and like to do is what he don't like to do necessarily. Right. And we don't have to tell each other what to do. We're constantly just checking in with status. This is what's been done. This is what I'm thinking about. What do you think? Should I go forward? We check each other. I had written the original screenplay of Demon Fighter completely different, the first draft. And it actually had me in it. As a lead actor. And then I stopped and I looked at Craig and I said, nobody wants to see me. Some old guy out there doing this crap. I said, we need to change this. And I wrote myself out completely. And I had a vision of what the character should look like. And one day I'm looking around searching actors and I find John Azuna's picture. And I go, he looks like what I'm thinking in my head. So I start researching his background and I'm going, oh my God, he's a master martial artist. Oh, he's got film credits all over. Oh, I called him up. Hey, this is who I am. I want to talk to you. This is what we do. And he was very enthusiastic about it. We auditioned him a couple of times. I put him through the ringer. I told him I would. And we cast him. But I have to say this, not to pat ourselves on the back about casting, but every actor who is in that film was awesome. Yeah. Every one of them. We have a young lady by the name of Wendy Schmidt. She played two parts of the same character. She played a baker at the beginning who was doing very well. And then years later, we find her again and life has tormented her and she became a street bag lady and she's in the gutter. And oh my God, her performance, she was so good. All the guys who played John Azuna's character when he was a youth, these boys, they were awesome. Yeah. Everybody in this thing, the lady Roxana Garcia, who played John Azuna's mother when he was a kid. I can't tell you how pleased I am about all these actors. And the reason I say this is because this isn't about Craig and I. This is about everybody involved. Our crew, Dan Watt, Dave Marshall, Ron Vargas, Dan Acosta, Denise Espinosa, doing costuming. She had an incredible costuming challenge. She's my wife. Obviously Espinosa, but I don't like to brag about her and say, well, you got to like her because she's my wife. Nah, because of the amount of work she puts into it. She doesn't just work there on costumes. When I'm prepping these films in pre-production, she's right there by my side, giving me advice, helping me. I run stuff by her and Craig all the time. That's my sounding boards there. I've been married 43 years. God bless America. God bless my marriage. Amen. Amen. So I'm happy about that. But getting back to this, it's not about us. It's about all these people, CRA Entertainment, all the people who work with us, Elena Gerard, KP Fanasi, who saved us with his contributions on the Demon Fighter film.
Majorly.
Amen. The actors from The Crumbs. I mean, Anton Clark, basically a new actor on the scene. He's done some other work. This is his first feature film. He was awesome. He was awesome. Chelsea Yudkowitz, Jeff Hatch, and of course the queen of horror, Maria Olsen.
Yeah.
Wow. Working with these actors was such a blessing for me as a director, because I didn't have to sit there and work them into their emotional states of mind. They knew in advance. They show me what the scene, what you got, ask them a few questions, boom, they did it. And we knocked that out in 2 weeks.
13 days.
13 days we shot that film.
Whoa.
It was amazing. We were
crazy.
at a compound in Placerville, California, Hangtown, up in the hills. And we had the entire compound. Over 100-year-old cabin was the main house with all the collateral cabins around it. We had them all. We rented the space, housed all the actors we could there. And the rest of them, housing them at the motels and hotels in Placerville. And most of those were the day actors. All the principal actors were housed there. Mr. Robert Crow, who played Sheriff Martin. Excellent actor, long-time actor. Film, television, theater. So we've been blessed. Craig and I surround ourselves with people who know more than we know.
Right.
Dan Watt, our cinematographer. I defer a lot to his talent. He's amazing. He's just amazing what he does. Our sound engineers, our editor, Amber, right there on set afterwards. Just the dedication of these people. That's what amazes me.
With great attitudes.
Great attitude. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's a guy who's worked on our set, and every time we need somebody like a bum, or we need a wino who's crashed out looking through the garbage can or something like that, he's always there for us no matter what. You'll see him in the film. He has a smile similar to that guy right there. See, and that's the kind of attitude we have. Elena Gerard, who played the lead in Evil Down the Street, she appears in The Crumbs and she appears in Demon Fighter.
Right.
And we just said, hey, look, we need somebody for this part. But even at that, she auditioned for it. And she's part of our team. She's part of CRA.
And same with Robert Crow.
And same with Robert Crow. Just because they were part of CRA doesn't mean they got the part. They had to audition for it. So naturally, my wife made me audition for Father Bob.
Now, if you need my services, I won't charge you as much as I charge everybody else. So just let you know.
There you go.
we get the
team
friends and family discount.
Yeah, I'll give you all the discount just because it's you guys.
I love you. Thank you.
Spielberg calls, it's twice as much, but
That's good.
Spielberg calls, forget about us. Just go.
Yeah.
Come back. Drop a good word about us. Tell them you know
David
these
and Craig,
old guys who are trying to make movies.
Yeah.
So where do people find you guys on social media and on the internet and all that good stuff?
Well, social media, kind of in this order: Facebook, CRA Entertainment, and then we'll have a Facebook page for our films: Evil Down the Street, The Crumbs, Demon Fighter. It's premature to have something up for Love in Quarantine. Demon Fighter will come out most likely first quarter next year. Love in Quarantine probably summer of next year. So CRA Entertainment, Facebook, the movies, like I said. Then David and me personally, David Espinosa and Craig Ahrens. So we're, you can just Google our names, will pop up. So we're not, I also have, I don't use Twitter a lot. I don't think I really get Twitter. But I do Instagram. So we kind of live in the world of Facebook and Instagram.
IMDb, you can find us there as well. Yeah, you can
That's
find our
anybody's
films on Amazon Prime,
Right.
Tubi TV, they're free.
And IMDb TV.
IMDb TV. Just look up the title. Boom, it'll come up.
So you beat me to the punch. You took my next question. I was going to say, all right, where do we find your movies?
You can ask again. We'd be happy to say it again.
That's fine. You want to take my job too?
Okay.
No, we're not that good. We just make feature films.
There you go.
All right, so you got your other projects coming up. You said probably sometime next year, and then you got The Evil Down the Street, which is on Amazon Prime and Tube. Was it Tubi or is that Q?
Yes, Tubi
Tubi.
TV and
Tubi.
IMDb TV.
IMDb TV. Okay, good.
And what is cool with those two platforms, Tubi TV and IMDb TV, if I may, Kyle, is free for the viewer. It's ad-based, so that's the trade-off. But a lot of our fans, a lot of our supporters, they don't have Amazon Prime, and we get that. So being on Tubi, and there's a lot of good content there. IMDb, thanks to our distributor, that's how, and they only took a few of their catalog of films. We feel very blessed to have been one of those films. So not all of their films appear on IMDb, because when IMDb first rolled out feature films, it's all big time stuff, all films you'd recognize. So we feel really honored that as indie filmmakers, that our content is also now available on IMDb TV.
Well, and I love the fact that you guys try to make everything as more real life than these other movies, which rely on the CGI and the
Right.
blood and guts kind of stuff. When you know as well as I do, you go in some place like y'all did, and something paranormal happens. It's not as Hollywood. Oh my God, things are coming out of the walls kind of stuff. You know? But
Exactly.
nonetheless, it's still scary. So yeah, I got you.
Right.
Very creepy.
Well, guys, I appreciate you being on this show. And anytime you have a project coming up that you need to blast out there, send it to us, and we'll be glad to share it.
Right on.
Anytime you guys want to come back on the show, hit me up, because I'd love to have y'all back again.
Well, you know who you
Beautiful.
may enjoy interviewing? Some of the actors, like from the Crumbs, Anton Clark or Jeff Hatch or Maria Olson. Maria has an incredible fan base. She's done over 100 horror films. So she's definitely someone of interest. Perhaps the makeup artists who do the FX work, they have great stories about the work they do, etc. I think those folks in the movie industry don't get enough support, don't get enough view time. And I think in Hollywood, they need to start honoring more of those people, like they for the stuntmen, for example. I think stuntmen are incredible. That is the most dangerous part of our work, being a stuntman, and that kind of stuff should be celebrated. So if ever you want to have any of those people, I'd love to refer some of these actors to you. They do a great many other things. Chelsea Jerkowitz, she's got a lot of other movies she's involved in. She's a great little actress, and I shouldn't say little, that's demeaning. She's a great actor, period.
Yeah, period.
And I'm extremely proud of all these folks. So you've had John on, but some of the other tech people, Dan Watt. Now, he's not very verbal, but man, this guy is talented. This man is talented, and what he can do with a camera and lights, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm blessed to have him as an associate and a friend. So.
One of my goals is to have people that are behind the scenes, because like you said, they don't get to the limelight like the actor does. It's like, okay, great, I know who Keanu Reeves is, but who's the guy that was doing the stunts for him and jumping from buildings, and who's the guy that gets these great shots? That's the kind of people that I find to be very interesting. Not that Keanu Reeves is not interesting.
No, that's not the point.
The thing is there's things behind the scenes people don't know about, and it's great to get that out there. So,
well, it's like Craig and I always say, it's not about us, it's about us.
Right.
Exactly.
All of us, about everybody, down to Crafty, the people who are making sure there's coffee there and something to eat in the morning.
And if I may, like they were talking earlier about KP and Elena on Demon Fighter were handling craft services. Oh my gosh. I mean, they were on it because we had a couple different set locations. And the one thing you don't want with your cast and crew is to show up and there's not something there for them. But they did just a great job. And those are things that, can easily fall through the cracks. But oh my gosh, they did really good.
Well,
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys. It was my pleasure. I really enjoyed talking with you guys, and we will definitely keep in touch. And any of those folks, send them my way because I'll be
I
glad
will.
to schedule that.
We will hook it up. And remember, if you see our film and you like it, please give us a good rating. If you don't like it, don't tell nobody. Just get it.
Like your mama used to say, you have nothing good to say, be quiet. And nobody messes with mama. So there
That's
you go.
right. Nobody messes with mama.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Thank you so much.
I want to thank everybody that watches, and please keep tuned because we got great guys like this and gals that like Elena Gerard, who's supposed to come on soon as she gets everything settled at her house, and can't wait for that to happen.
By the way, real quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you reminded me, Elena Gerard has autographed a series of 8x10 photographs of her in the basement scene of the movie. All right. And we'd love to send one to you for a guest who can tell us how many drops of blood occurred in the scene at the sink when she's cutting the apple. She's cutting an apple at a sink. How many drops of blood fall into the sink? You pick whatever number of caller it is. Let us know who that person is, and Elena will send a photograph of her directly to that person from her personally.
Right.
I will put that in the description, and I guess what date shall I cut this off at? Because this is going to be played over and over again.
You know what? I'll tell you what. How about 2 times, 2 different dates?
Okay.
You pick them. Whenever you broadcast it, that's up to you. You tell us what that is about, and whoever the winner is, we'll send a picture out. Well, I won't, but Elena will personally.
Well, all right. So as long as she puts her address on there, and I know where to go.
That's good. That's funny.
Okay.
But thanks again, guys, and thanks to our audience. And
thank you, audience.
We will catch you on the next one.
Right on, man. Thanks.
Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network and on Instagram at The Vibes Broadcast.